Greetings, Dr. Salafu. This is my evaluation of the Technology Integration Matrix. I'll start with what factors work well with the TIM model. The matrix works well in that it describes the role of the teacher in students' use of technology. It indicates whether the teacher is serving, for example, as a facilitator. It explains what the teacher is encouraging students to do with the technology. And the matrix provides a description of the settings, such as if they are using the technology to develop critical thinking or if they are using it in unconventional ways, and a description of what level of technology would be available for students at the level in the matrix one is examining. Let me explain further. Here's an example of how the matrix works. Let's say I want to look at what the student and teacher role is at the technology level of transformation within an active learning environment. On the TIM website, I can click on the highlighted box to see descriptors. Checking on the selected level, a page with descriptors will open and you can read the description of what the students are doing, the role of the teacher, and the setting of the learning. The website is very easily navigated and it makes it easier to understand the 25 different scenarios that are part of this matrix. What factors of the TIM model are ineffective or are in need of update? Some of the ineffective factors of the matrix is that it doesn't take into account other understandings of learning beyond a social constructivist one. For example, it doesn't take into account an instructor led environment. In addition, it doesn't take into account whether the mandated technology is the most appropriate for the task. For example, in a learning environment in which the objective is to become work ready and not necessarily to develop critical thinking skills, such as it would be in a vocational or trade school. Even though students in a vocational school will use technology to solve problems, such as a mechanic may use a diagnostic tool, the technology is what is learned, and not that the student is using the technology to learn. In this case, the mandated technology is the diagnostic tool, which is appropriate for the task, even if its use falls under entry level on the matrix. The framework does not necessarily or easily support some contextual factors. It doesn't take into account scenarios in which the technology is not available or teacher trainings are not supported by the administration. In such a case, no matter how creative a teacher is at overcoming the shortcomings of the school's support of technology, and perhaps her use of the technology is even innovative and has students thinking critically, it may still fall under the category of entry level on the matrix. Another ineffective factor in the matrix is that it makes it so that each level is exclusive and it doesn't take into account that some experiences may be collaborative, constructive, and authentic all at the same time. The matrix also makes it seem as though levels are hierarchical. Take, for example, adaptation and infusion. A teacher may not need to first incorporate technology tools as an integral part of the lesson, which is at the adaptation level, before a range of different technology tools are integrated flexibly into a lesson, which is at the infusion level. The matrix contains too many possibilities. As a teacher, I can relate to the issue of the model being a bit convoluted, especially when you configure the amount of time a teacher has between the development of a lesson and its implementation. Having 25 possibilities can make it less appealing to use when thinking in terms of time. In what professional settings will the TIM model work best? I can see the TIM model being very effective in a professional development scenario in which teachers are being made aware of the relationship between the level of learning and the purpose of the technology. I can also see its usefulness for teachers to self evaluate the relationship between other pedagogy and their use of technology. Instructional designers can also find the TIM model very useful when creating courses with the understanding that where the course is being implemented, technology is available and supported. In what context will the TIM model be ineffective? In my opinion, In my capacity as a teacher of 22 years, there are a few scenarios in which I believe the TIM model would prove ineffective. For example, it would not be effective in a learning environment. Readiness is more important than developing critical thinking. It is important to understand that not all learning takes place in a personalized student environment. In these environments, using the TIM model for evaluating our use of technology in terms of pedagogy is not effective. Another context in which the TIM model may prove ineffective is in a learning environment where the classes of the are where the classes are instructor led and are using prescriptive lessons. The TIM model requires that the teacher have the ability to have control over the creation of the learning environment. If a teacher or instructor does not, the TIM model will not be effective. The TIM model may also prove less effective in a learning environment in which students are included in the learning process. The matrix is written more for a teacher or instructor to use in reflection and is not student oriented. Need to be written in such a way that the student can use in their reflections, such as, this is what I should be doing if I want to be at this level. One last comment before I end this presentation. I have reviewed a variety of technology matrices, such as the Turnaround Technology Integration, Pedagogy, and Planning, created by Robler and Hughes in 2018, and the TPAC model that we studied in this class, and the PICRAT matrix created by Kimmons et al., and have arrived at the conclusion that each matrix has its strengths and weaknesses, and that the user should decide which one works best for the objective the teacher or instructor has in mind. And with that ends my presentation. Thank you for your attention to my presentation. I look forward to your feedback.